morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome along to another episode of the Sofamanager Scottish Football Podcast. I don't care, I don't keep count anymore. John will update us, no doubt, later on. So, on this week's show, been off for a while, so lots to talk about. We will be discussing this weekend's Scottish Cup fixtures, the race for the championship, which many of us might have thought would be long over by now, but no, it rolls on. In emphatic fashion, as a matter of fact, and all of it's televised. Something you couldn't see many years ago. I also have been watching football for a change.
Usual.
I know. So we'll be discussing the sort of sharp end of the Europa League and the Champions League. Also the mad European implications for England, which was covered in like a 5-minute segment on Match of the Day. And some other trinkets as well. John's got some topics about possibly some Lego, some Airfix, and SPFL restructuring. So we'll see what gets sprinkled in there.
Indeed, it could be over the next couple of weeks, but we'll see how much it doesn't get chucked in.
Anyway, joining myself, keen football fan who watches 2 games in as many months, Paul, it is Glory Hunter, and picky man who didn't want to see his team win the league at Partick Thistle.
He's now going to have to watch his team win the league at Partick Thistle.
Well, he's going to hope that's the case. It is John. Hello, John.
Hello, Paul.
How are you feeling this week?
Nervous. I'm an absolute wreck.
Is that Apple Watch telling you their heart rate's a little bit higher than it used to be?
Through the roof, honestly. It's proper squeaky bum time.
Anyway, on that note, let's get straight on with things, shall we? First and foremost, John, I see you've kindly
remember to bring your programme.
Yes. So for our video viewers, Jono did go and buy 2 programmes for the Scotland versus Greece game. How long ago does that feel?
That was March. Was it March?
I think it was March, yes. Dedicated, of course, to Dennis Law. And, of course, a wonderful night that the players really put in a performance
huge, yep.
worthy of Dennis Law's memory. So a wonderful thing there. So, yeah, anyway. We won't talk about that.
It's been and gone.
You'll get a chance to talk about Scotland versus Greece another time in the near future.
Roll on 6 months.
So, what do we want to start with? Do we want to start with Falkirk and the Championship, or do you want to start with the Scottish Cup?
Let's start with the Scottish Cup, because I want to defer that pain as much as possible.
Fair enough. Another Celtic versus Aberdeen final.
Yay!
Yes, I think, and to be fair, there's only one way this is going. I don't know if you recall Aberdeen's record against Celtic at Hampden, particularly this season.
What was that, 7-0?
I think it was 6 or 7. So St Johnstone went one better.
Yeah.
But I did like the Scottish Cup Instagram page put up that they took them to penalties, I think in 2022, or some sort of year about that, and they got beat 6-5. So I was like, well, that's good. That'll hopefully G them up a wee bit.
Oh yeah. It's a nearly moment.
Indeed. So the Saturday fixture, do you watch a lot of it yourself?
I watched most of the Saturday game, the Hearts Aberdeen game, before having to kind of head out for the Falkirk game.
Yes.
I've only seen the highlights of the Celtic game. I listened to it on the radio. It seemed like a complete non-event, so there's not really an awful lot to talk about there.
I felt sorry. Did you see the St Johnstone? What was his name? Kirk something or Cameron?
Mackenzie Kirk.
Mackenzie Kirk
scored the absolute rasper.
I can't say what a great footballer's name, by the way.
Mackenzie Kirk. It's a very Scottish name.
Works perfectly. I haven't heard
of him. Probably Irish, but it's a great Scottish
name. Don't quote us on that. I haven't heard of him before or since, but what a belter of a goal!
Huge.
Can I say, I think they were 4-0 down by that
point. They were 4-0 at the time, and I scored. It was not long into the second half.
Let it go. Let it go. It doesn't. They are not coming back from 4-1 down.
No, they're not coming back. It's a very soft foul as well. Let's be honest.
2 hands pushed him.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I don't know if he pushed him. He had 2 hands on his back, but quite where he pushed him.
I feel like all I'm watching at the moment is Michael Stewart saying how harsh fouls are all the time.
Whinging about everything.
Exactly.
Short corner.
So I would have let that stand. It would have been a great moment for the young lad. They weren't coming back. What's the harm?
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's not like the ref was looking directly at what became the foul.
Yes.
So his on-field decision probably should stand anyway. There wasn't a massive, clear and obvious error there. He's adjudged that to be not enough of a foul to give it, and he's let play on. And it's been, like I say, a tremendous goal. I mean,
it's a cup semi-final.
If you're a St Johnstone fan who's paid £42 for your ticket to go to that game,
that's how much it was.
Give them the moment, like sympathy.
I saw, I think it was 2,200 St Johnstone fans there.
Oh, that's poor.
But, like, they could beat 5-0. It should have been 5-1.
It could have been 7-8 or 9-1.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people were pointing out there's probably more fans from Perth and the Celtic end than there is St Johnstone, so it's not their fault. It's the fault in the structure of Scottish football. The Aberdeen game, I had no intention of tuning into at all, despite being an Aberdeen fan.
I was looking forward to it, actually. I thought this was the kind of game where Aberdeen, their record at Hampden, as you kind of said, I say record, one game at Hampden this season has been abysmal. I kind of thought, right, well, this is
two very even teams.
Quite an even team.
They always beat each other away from home.
This is
so neutral venue.
Hearts have literally nothing else to play for apart from the Scottish Cup, so it's basically all in on that. For Aberdeen, it's a really good opportunity to not so much salvage the season, because there is still the possibility of finishing third, but there is this kind of hangover of that terrible run over Jimmy Tulleen, which was a good opportunity to kind of overcome that. I was looking forward to it.
It's really weird. Like, you look at how Hibs have been lauded now for essentially doing the same thing but in reverse.
Yes, but it all pivots on that one game against each other at Easter Road.
Totally. It's as if the luck went zoomfed straight out of Aberdeen, straight into Aberdeen. I don't envy them it, because they've had a rough time for quite a few years now. And it is good to see the bigger teams rise to the top in Scottish football. Yes, it's a shame for your sort of Motherwells, and I thought Kilmarnock and things might have done a wee bit better this season.
It's the curse of Europe for all of these guys. Hearts struggled, Kilmarnock struggled, Hibs will struggle next season. Well, that's how these things kind of go. It's a cycle. It's bizarre.
Of
it's
misery,
true.
Of how equal and rubbish we all are.
You try really, really hard to get to Europe, and then your next season is just awful, and you'll sack your manager.
Yes,
it's just a disaster.
Well, again, looking at it from an Aberdeen perspective, it's been much better than last season, and I think you have to bear that in mind. We'll see how the top six goes. I think if they get fourth, they've done well.
They get Europe, they've done well.
Exactly.
Which, to be fair, I think if you are Aberdeen at this point, that it should be bare minimum.
So how's that fallen? Like, number one will be Champions League, number two will be Europa League, and then third, and then I'm guessing, did they still do the Scottish Cup finalist, or did that get ditched? I've got a feeling that got ditched.
I still think we get 4 places, but I think
is it 2 Europa League?
Celtic have to go through qualifiers to get to the Champions League league stage. Rangers, I'm not too sure if they have to go through Champions League qualifiers still or not. We probably should have researched this a little bit more before you asked me that question. But
Celtic went straight in.
I think they did, or they had like one playoff game and they were absolutely fine.
But our coefficient has perhaps gone backwards.
It's regressed quite significantly from a season or two. So when the sort of Rangers, who would have been? So Celtic and Rangers got quite far into the competition 2 or 3 years ago, which is now kind of fallen off.
Yes.
Meanwhile, other countries are beginning to kind of pick up again. So again, you'll have to forgive me for the exact nations, but I'm sure it's like the Czech Republic. I'm sure it's Turkey.
Right.
A lot of their teams are now getting further into competitions where recently they haven't. So we are dropping out of that kind of 10th or 11th, I think, in the overall coefficient ranking. We're falling out a little bit. So you've got to hope, certainly over the next couple of years, both Rangers and Celtic can continue to do what they've done. And we're also relying on Aberdeen and Hearts,
Hibs, possibly. Dundee United,
to
St Mirren if there's a minor miracle,
get into these league stages,
yes,
and perform relatively well, get a couple of wins,
yes,
get some points on the board. I mean, Hearts obviously feel miserably.
They should have qualified
this stage, but I mean, they're not the only ones to have done that. I think if Aberdeen had been in that kind of full league stage as well, they probably would have suffered the same consequences. Yeah, they probably would have, let's be honest. Like Barry Robson,
they were in the proper system, John.
The old system.
Although they only turned it on at the end, so also they possibly could have done a wee bit better. It's really interesting though, because you look at Frankfurt this year and how deep they've gone in the competition.
Well, again, so they've won the Europa League against Rangers. They went quite far last season, I'm sure. Quarterfinals, semi-finals actually. No, quarterfinals this season.
Yeah,
beat up Bodo Glimt. Lol.
What a great
unbelievable
thing for them. But when I saw that, because they were playing Lazio, I think, weren't they?
They've beat Lazio. They've beat God knows who else up in
unbelievable
up in the kind of Arctic Circle. It must be a terrific away day. Like, God knows how. Imagine going from Rome, like the lovely scenery of Rome.
Yes,
and you find yourself on a Thursday night in the Arctic Circle playing in 3 foot of snow.
Well, this is probably also why our coefficient is sort of sliding backwards.
Like, what we need is plastic pitches because they play in a plastic pitch.
Okay. Well,
and that helps. That gets you through Europe.
You gives you an advantage because it's different.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where we're falling down.
Anyway,
that'll get me in trouble.
To the Hearts Aberdeen game, we will come back to.
We'll probably circle back to this.
The Arctic circle back to it. Yeah. What did you make of the red card decision in the first half?
Cards
not of extra time.
Of extra time. So the first one, yes, it's a red card, no question.
Okay.
Big
decision.
It's a big decision, but on the first viewing, I was like, I think he's last man, but I couldn't really tell whether I can't remember who the other Hearts defender was coming around.
Back as well, yeah.
But you're watching the replay, you're like, nah, he's never catching that. Is it Keskinen, I think, the player running through.
Was on themselves, yeah.
He's got bags of pace to kind of burn past any defender anyway. Yeah, it's a straight red. It's unfortunate, but it's a straight red.
Yep.
Correct decision. Well done.
Good.
Next.
Second red card, which was for the second yellow.
So I haven't seen the challenge for the first yellow, so I can't comment on that.
I wasn't watching that either.
I feel the second yellow was incredibly harsh because Devlin has his eyes on the ball the whole time.
Yep.
He is going to clear that. It is unfortunate that I think it's Palversa
gets his foot in the way.
Is quicker to react than what he is and gets his foot in the road, and then there's unfortunate contact. It's a foul. He's made contact. He's kicked the guy, but it's unknowingly. I think it's incredibly harsh. I really do. Like, particularly for that moment in the game, and the kind of mental exhaustion amongst other things.
Oh, totally.
Like he's probably not thinking there's a guy over my shoulder.
No, he doesn't
charging. He is. All he's thinking about is just booting that ball as far as he can.
Mm-hmm.
And he's unfortunately made contact with the player, which again I have 100% foul.
I did feel, but that's because I think I tuned in for the end of the game in the extra time, and Beaton was feeling very card happy. Like, pretty much everything was getting a yellow card.
He was getting no Easter cards for his family.
It certainly wasn't. Aberdeen were just dreadful though. Like with one man advantage, I was watching extra time, and it's like someone would get the ball, and I'd be like, "Oh, I'm going to pass to you. Like, see you there? Yes. I'm going to take another touch. I'm going to pass it. I'm going to be very clear.
It's coming now.
Not quite now.
No.
Okay, now. You control it and take another 30 seconds to really telegraph your. It was
that's poor.
So slow. The goal was great. I mean, fantastic, happy days. But it was slow, lumbering, predictable. And Craig Gordon was again terrific. He remains the most instinctive goalkeeper out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And saves ridiculous shots. Also, it comes off the back of him for the first one, which again, that is going to happen. There's basically nothing you can do about that. And he was gutted at the end of the game.
I think he will retire now.
Well, but
surely now.
He's had that great performance, and I don't think there's anyone behind him really. I don't think, is it Sander Clark is still the backup?
Sander Clark probably.
I don't think he's putting that much pressure on him to be.
Well, no, probably not. Craig Gordon is undroppable, but at the same time, at what point does he go, I've had enough of this? Or did the Hearts Sport turn in and say, we're going to sack Critchley, which I think is going to happen, or they're going to let him go?
I think so.
Do you appoint Craig Gordon as your new manager?
What goalie? That's a funny one, isn't it?
Yeah, it'd be unusual. I think Tommy Wright was a goalkeeper. He's the last.
Was he?
Kind of other goalkeeper manager that I can think of.
Goalkeeper coaches. I don't know.
Who'd have thunk it?
But
it could happen though.
It is amazing. Like, look at how their fortunes have turned from like a year ago, and Shanklin's just fallen off a cliff.
No, but he scored an absolute belter though. That's a great finish.
Aye, he did. But like beyond that,
that was always going to happen against Aberdeen though. Always.
He didn't really play for them for that long. So yes, on to the final. I don't hold any hope.
Nobody holds any hope. This is the thing.
All.
Like, you're defeated before you get there.
Aye. Which again, I think there was a pretty good turnout for that game
at that time.
I think Aberdeen maybe had about 13,000. Was it? It was either 13 or 9. I know that's two random numbers. I'm guessing Hearts would have been a little bit more.
I think Hearts sold more than the initial allocation, which would have been about 18. So I reckon Hearts probably had 22, 23,000.
Right.
Maybe a little bit more. By the looks of things, Aberdeen probably had around the kind of 9,000-10,000 mark.
Okay.
Or kind of, what would be the kind of East standing round a little bit, but then there's this kind of big gap.
Yep.
And then I hate when they do it, but it's this kind of seats in the main stand.
And there's a small
posse. I've seen pictures of the St Johnstone support.
Yep.
And how they had been spaced out in the same manner. It's two sections in the main stand, and then a kind of really random section round where if you've been to Scotland, the international games, where the away fans usually sit.
Yes.
You're like, why not just clump them all together? Because there is a segregation barrier there anyway, so realistically they could have just sold the rest to Celtic and cashed in.
The weird one, because of the lopsided nature of the support.
Well, I mean, this is it. I mean, it is because I've been there with Falkirk in the past, and that we played Hibs twice. One of them was either a 12 noon or a half 12 kickoff, and I think we only brought 4,000.
Right.
In fact, I think it was I think it was actually the one we won in 2015 against Hibs, the 1-0 win. It wasn't the 4-3 defeat. I think we had a little bit more for that. But we had like 2 or 3 sections at most. And it was like,
that was it.
So Johnstone's not alone in provincial clubs going to Hampden and selling minuscule amounts.
Not at all.
So
especially if you're not going to get the decisions.
Well, these things happen. Yeah, I mean, and like I said, particularly against Celtic, you're defeated before you start.
Yes.
So what's the point? Like,
well, I think Rodgers has come out and said he's going nowhere, and on the basis
of course he's probably on an outrageous win bonus. Like, he's cashing in.
The thing is, though, see with the progress that Rangers make in the Europa League, that's the one ding against Celtic, I think. And I think this year against Bayern Munich, they will be a wee bit disappointed.
I think they will be. Yeah.
They didn't look great, and I think that was evident against Inter Milan as well.
Aye,
we have an amazing tunnel, by the way. Have you seen the Inter Milan tunnel?
Oh, the one that kind of raises at the sides?
Aye, it's like screens inside.
Yep.
And I thought it was the Bernabeu and realised that no, it was the San Siro. And I was like, why have they invested this money in the San Siro tunnel? And I think it's going soon, is it not?
I've
said it for a while.
Not sure. I know Roma and I'll go off topic, but Roma and Lazio, who currently share the Olimpico in Rome, Roma are wanting to build their own stadium and they've announced plans, and I think they've got planning permission for it.
Right.
I highly recommend going. I think it's on YouTube. The kind of official renderings for it, and they've kind of put like an AI video together.
Okay.
It looks fantastic.
Really?
Really, really good.
Speaking of European football, now that we're there, I did watch the Real Madrid Arsenal game this week.
I hated that game. I did watch it as well. It was frustration.
They lauded Arsenal a lot, but it did look like Real Madrid had a word from Steve Clark before the game. And just did they really have any teeth at all?
They looked like they couldn't care less.
It was terrible.
Like, I thought Mbappe was awful. I thought Bellingham was a shadow of the player that I've seen him in the past.
Yeah, Vinicius wasn't up to anything.
Vinicius was
Alaba's looking rubbish.
Yeah, they're all man.
Aye.
Rudiger was much about the same.
What a brute, by the way. He was like Rudiger, pulling wrestling moves towards the end of the game.
He is the last of those kind of defenders at that kind of elite level.
He's channeling that sort of Sergio Ramos, but not as clever.
He's not got the finesse of Ramos. He's not got the hair for as what Ramos got away with because his hairstyle. That's my opinion.
Now my thing about
I'm just jealous.
There you go. If you're watching the video episode, you'll particularly understand. Yes.
The Wraith fan called me a baldy bastard on coming out Falkirk Stadium. Yeah. That hurt my soul.
I did see a funny comment on the Falkirk Facebook page of the sort of final result, and it's an Ayr United fan, because at Ayr United they were chanting, "We're going up and the Pars are going down."
Yep.
And they were saying, "Doesn't it look so hot that analysis now, does it?" And I was like, see when they were chanting, I was like, hold off on that one, lads.
There was a lot of redneck. Well, we're kind of going off tangent. We'll get it. There's a lot of rednecks at Somerset, which we'll talk about.
Okay. Yes. Now the interesting thing about these games was very delayed VAR decisions.
Really slow. It took a lot of this thing out of the game, which is, and again, like for the offsides,
they're playing through like some of these, and then they're calling it back. And I can't remember if it was this week or last week that they did it, but there must have been about 2-3 minutes of play that they then called back. And there's been so many decisions recently, like the first penalty, the two of them are pulling each other. Yeah. They're nowhere near the ball, and they're both at it.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's never a penalty.
Never a penalty, but it's given. Now, even the Real Madrid penalty, he like kicks his studs again semi by accident. Again, nowhere near the ball. And I'm not saying that you can just wipe people out in the box and get away with it, but it's like it's not consequential.
No, it's poor. It's taking all the contact out of the game. It's like not all contact is a foul, but this seems to be the way it's now going. It's like watching basketball, where it's like if you breathe on somebody, it's a foul.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Even in the Championship, Scottish Championship, you see it every week. Guys just going down, and Dylan Tate is as guilty as anyone for this. I'm not sort of.
How have we gone from Real Madrid to you talking about
always,
Dylan
it's
Tate?
just a kind of weird cycle. It's psychologists will need to dig that one out. But I found that the kind of in terms of the Real Madrid game as well. But I mean, there was a similar foul that happened in the Real Madrid box. Same kind of like talking. I think it was Declan Rice, and I think he initially gave the penalty
and then looked at it again,
and he changed his mind. He's like, well, that's kind of apples and apples here. That you've given it for them, you'll have to give it for them. It made no sense, particularly because it was Real Madrid at the Bernabeu, and we're guaranteed a penalty at some stage. So
the thing about
made no sense.
Them though, like it's really interesting when you watch the camera angles. There's an awful lot of phones out in those first few rows. So it does look like there's quite a lot of tourism there.
I think they do well to kind of make up the ground.
Yes.
To pretend there's an atmosphere in it.
Yes.
But what I've heard when you actually are there, it's dreadful.
It was dead pretty early on, and you can see why. Like,
I mean, there was nothing to really kind of play for after the first half. Was Saka's penalty the worst penalty you've ever seen?
Oh, trifle. Because he sort of Panenkas it, doesn't he?
He tries to Panenka it without properly Panenking it.
I know. But then, what was I watching? I watched the Livingston highlights, and for the first penalty, I think Muirhead just sticks it down the middle.
Battles it.
Aye, but you look like a brat if you miss that. So it's sort of 6 in one, half a dozen the other. He sort of makes up for it later on. I was much more impressed with the other winger though. What was his name? The fast one who got the last goal.
Was it Martinelli?
Martinelli.
Yep.
My goodness, see that run for the last goal. I'm like, how? You've been on the park for 90 minutes blasting up and down, and still you are going like an absolute train. But amazing quality in that game. Like, Arsenal do look very, very good, or did look very, very good from that game.
They look good in that game.
I haven't watched the whole season, so again, I have a snippet of, what I saw and the high quality. Then I watched the Man United Leon game. Well, I didn't watch the Man United Leon game. I watched extra time of the Man United Leon game, which was the best thing to do. Now, interestingly, the quality wasn't quite there from the Champions League game. Even though the Real Madrid were pretty dreadful, they could still put together passes and things like that. This was a bit more agricultural. And again, Leon will be absolutely devastated.
They'll be raging, absolutely, physically sick after that game.
I mean, unbelievable. Getting the goal in extra time, getting 2 goals in extra time.
2 goals, 4-2 up. Yep.
Then the first Man United penalty was also a little bit iffy.
Yep.
But then the legend that is Harry Maguire, you can't
it had to be him.
And again,
for the redemption arc. And then to go and get beat by Wolves on
it's totally ridiculous.
It was tremendously funny, but
yeah, it was amazing to see the limbs and stuff like that there as well. And I was just thinking that we recently at school had our Mario Kart tournament.
Okay,
and it's a bit similar to the European structure, John. Actually, there's a sort of group stage. Well, and that you race against 4 people. The top person qualifies for and it's not until like the final semi-final that you get the really interesting races that you're like, whoa, we are on like another level here. And to be fair, even see those first 2 PSG goals against Aston Villa were ruthless. Like, zero mistakes to them, smashed into the back of the net, and you think, wow, we are really at the top level here. And then I went and watched the Aberdeen game on Saturday.
Yes, I say there's levels to this.
Exactly. Shocked by PSG, by the way. Like, how they're near a Champions League semi-final.
They look so much better without their kind of like superstars. I think
Mbappe was clearly never the key, was he?
This is it. I mean, it's like, well, Dembele, to be fair, looks like a changed man since Mbappe left. I mean, to be fair, I'm kind of struggling to kind of name you any PSG players beyond that. I can't pay attention, but
they've got that Kvaratskhelia.
What was it?
Georgian player, yeah.
He's a really good player. Who they got up front? Is it?
I don't know.
No,
I've fallen off supporting them as well.
This is it's the same kind of thing. But again, as a collective, I think there's a few guys coming through their academy, if what I loosely know.
Yeah.
I don't feel quite bad against them, if that makes sense. Like when they were sort of spending huge amounts of money, I was like, no, I don't want them to win it.
It's not cool.
Now it's a bit more like organic. Like
they've built a team.
They're building a team. They've got like sort of good academy coming through. Fair play. If they go and win it, fine.
Yes.
Good for them. And provided they knock Arsenal out as well,
will
which will be very funny.
Very interesting against Arsenal. It was an Emirates derby actually. Real Madrid against Arsenal,
of course.
And then Leon, I think, will also fly Emirates as well.
Emirates.
So yes, we will see how that goes. Again, does this pour more fuel in the fire for a European Super League? Who knows?
Oh, probably. I mean,
I think that's what they're saying about if these Man City charges go down, they're still swirling about trying to get this going. So
I think there's a fair chance still. And to be fair, I wouldn't be that bothered.
Yes.
At this point, I couldn't care less. Like at that kind of level, I can't say I've watched an awful lot of sort of Premier League games this season at all.
Yeah.
Certainly haven't watched Match of the Day at all. I can't remember ever watching it. I'm just not interested. It's very stale. I mean, I've seen some of the snippets of like Gary Neville kind of talking about how kind of watered down the Premier League seems to be. Yeah. Again, if you're looking at the table, the 3 teams went up for the Championship are going back down again. The same thing will probably happen next season and the season after that. Yeah,
that is very interesting how the level seems to. But I think that you look at Brentford, Nottingham Forest, how they've come up.
I would
again, they've invested quite heavily.
Yes, I would take the Bournemouth and Brentford or 2 that maybe got in just in time.
Yes.
Nottingham Forest spent an outrageous sum of money when they got promoted. Like I think it must have been 300 million.
Nottingham Forest back in the Champions League, John.
Could be back in the Champions League.
The vibes.
You're spending like £300 million in your first season in the Premiership just to finish like 15th. That's the level of investment you need. Mm-hmm. And it's level of investment in the players, and you don't know if they're going to be any good or not either. That's the thing.
They all find them randomly. Like that's the thing. And again, it looks like half the league's going to be in Europe next season.
Well, this is it
depending on, which I think if you get into Europe, you want to play interesting teams.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the European teams would be. I don't know. Would Bournemouth or Brentford get you that excited?
No, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in watching Nottingham Forest in the Champions League either. Like Villa, yes, a little bit because
that's the thing. Look at Villa.
Villa was quite interesting, and it's only interesting because John McGinn's there.
Right.
If John McGinn wasn't in that Villa team, I couldn't care less.
Yes.
It's the same extent with like Liverpool with Andy Robertson. I don't really care after that. If Scott McTominay and Billy Gilmore leave Napoli, I couldn't care less about Napoli. But right now, I'm desperate for them to win the league because I want to see those guys win the league.
We need variety. We need other teams to be successful to make this interesting, and I think we're getting towards that. Financial fair play and stuff is sort of.
I think we're miles off it. I think we're getting further away from it.
Well, Man City have fallen back. You know,
for a season.
I know, and then
they've been replaced by Liverpool, who are now going to win like another Premier League title in a short space of time.
They didn't win anything else. They didn't win the FA Cup, for example. Not the FA Cup,
the Carabao Cup.
Carabao Cup, which also comes with a European place.
Yeah, it's be Newcastle,
which actually might not be needed.
I don't know how that works if it drops into some league position.
So it was really complicated, and actually, a Conference League spot can actually disappear,
right?
And like sort of becomes a Europa League place. It was monumentally complicated.
I imagine so if Arsenal win the Champions League, they get back in again. But they're guaranteed Champions League anyway,
yeah,
so that's 5 places.
Yes.
If Man United win the Europa League, they'll go into the Champions League.
Yes.
There's 6 teams.
Tottenham.
Or the Spurs, one of the two. If they
I'm rooting for it. I love Ange.
Big Ange.
I know. I was winning my section. If he wins the Europa League, does he keep his job?
Yeah, there's no way they can get rid of him.
Oh, he's won a trophy.
Yeah, there's no way they can get rid of him. No way. They'll have to hold on to him till about October time, and then they can
pop him then.
Unless they're like.
And again, having a bad season actually didn't really matter because everyone else was so bad.
Well, this is it. They've had a lot of injuries, so we'll give them benefit of the doubt there.
Anyway, now that we've had a wee continental tour, speaking of limbs, I also watched the Falkirk Wraith Rovers highlights.
The Bernabeu to Somerset.
And it's not even Somerset, it's the Falkirk Stadium. Oh. And yes, the Wraith Rovers fans, we are very excited, particularly by that second goal. And can I just say, freaking love it, because it was Calvin Miller scores the first.
Calvin Miller scores first.
Straight up to the Wraith fans, giving it loud.
He done it, and again, Dylan Tate, the absolute wind-up merchant he is.
No.
It's so bad. I really hate it when they do it. It's fine to do when you're like 3-0 up, you can bam them up a wee bit. And I absolutely detest it when opposition players do it to us as well, but that's by the by.
Yes.
I'm just like, no, this is not the right thing to do. Like,
there may be trouble ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried to do a kind of deep dive without hanging myself over the last kind of 4 or 5 weeks for Falkirk, and it's man alive, it's brutal.
I mean,
it's really brutal.
This has been a foregone conclusion for what, 2-3 weeks now.
Every time you listen to sports sound pundits, your Leanne Crichton or whoever else is doing the Friday night games, like, it's just a matter of time until Falkirk away. No, it's not. It is absolutely not. I have watched this team for 20 years. I know for a fact we are about to chuck it. You can see it for a mile off.
Imagine.
It is. It's going to happen. It is. It will happen on the last day of the season. We'll draw with Hamilton and they'll beat Partick and they'll win the league by 2 points.
We'll talk about the circumstances surrounding those games, but let's reflect on the past before we...
So how far back do you want to go? Do you want to go back to... I think this all starts to kind of capitulate around about the kind of Livingston game, probably.
That was quite a while ago now.
That was it was only 3 or 4 games ago. Feels like a lifetime ago, but that's when it all started to kind of fall to
They
pieces.
got beat there, did they?
We got beat in the 91st minute. It was Andrew Shinnie with a free kick.
Yep.
I think it cracks off the crossbar, or does he tap it in? He's involved.
So quite lucky, actually.
A little bit lucky. We were hanging on for dear life through that game. Livy have had their number all season, and the kind of headline to that is they are far too physical. We cannot handle that.
Yep.
They bully us off the park. There's a few kind of dodgy elbows in there. The ref, because it's a big game, kind of lets these things go. We never got wise to it. We never play acted to it, which we probably should have. Not because that's the right thing to do, but it was the only thing we could do to combat that.
Well, there are a few of them just don't really know how to play the game. Like there's not enough diving.
Yeah, there's
to
not
be
enough.
Quite frank,
it's the kind of street smarts of it all. Is we're not wise to it.
No.
Like if Stevie May comes charging into you and he's quite high, go down screaming in agony, holding your face, and you have to make it a bigger deal than.
It's horrible, but everyone else does it.
Yeah, this is it.
Especially them.
Nobody wants to see it, but that's what you have to kind of do in these games. We never kind of got kind of wise to that, and that let us down to an extent. You know, pure play. I mean, certainly going back to the first game at Anvil, Teddy Ing's strike is amazing, really good strike. We hold your hands up to that. You know, we got a lucky draw at home. I think we were 2-0 down, came back to 2 each.
2 stupid goals to concede.
2 stupid goals to concede, and again, we just weren't wise to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've tried all sorts. We've went to a back 3. We've played 2 massive guys up front. You know, we've put Henderson in midfield. We just can't find a way around it, and that's been a problem.
To result in basically a 0% record, apart from one draw against them.
And what's really bizarre is Dunfermline have had their number all season, and I'd love to know why. I'd love to, like, I'm not going to waste my time watching Dunfermline highlights, but surely somebody in the Falkirk analytics department, whatever wee guy sits with a laptop and goes, I wonder what they're doing.
What are they doing?
How can they get results?
It's a style of play thing sometimes,
it's
isn't it?
probably the street smarts, because Chris Kane is a diving, cheating rogue and probably gets it.
That's what you need.
That's what you need. So that, for me, that's when it was like, oh, but we still had a healthy gap. And
huge. Well, not huge. They were always there.
It was a comfortable gap, and he had a kind of safety net to it. I think it kept everybody quite calm.
Yeah.
And then they lost to Dunfermline as well, which we all kind of half expected to happen. You thought, oh, right.
Mm-hmm. They slipped up.
They've chucked a big game.
Yep.
And at that point, we had beaten Morton 5-0, so we'd recovered really quickly from that Livingston game. That's fine. We're going into the Ayr game.
Big game. Ayr are still potentially second place at this point.
Is it. So Ayr really needed to win.
Yeah.
To keep pressure on second. They were pretty much out of the title race. I don't think Ayr were all that great against us, but again, we lacked a goal threat. And this is again another kind of issue that we've now had over the last couple of weeks.
Watching the first half, I thought Ayr shaded it without really... The quality of their chances wasn't great.
No.
The composure of that game was terrible. The ball just went sky high.
Everywhere.
And the one person that kept it down, which I think was Miller. Was it Miller?
Yeah, on the wing. Yep.
Goal. Like, you know...
Well, this is it. And then he blasts it over the bar in the second half, which could have killed the game. But
what the heck? I was like, have they overinflated this ball or something like that? It was terrible.
It was just bizarre. I mean, the atmosphere was absolutely electric. I mean, we were at that kind of point, we were kind of in the ascendancy a wee bit. You kind of thought, this is it. This is where we're looking good.
We're going up, the Pars are going down, was the chant.
Yeah, champions again, ole ole.
Lol.
Like I say, 2,500 rednecks coming out of that stadium that night.
I heard that on the TV. I was like, I'd hold off on that, lads.
Yeah,
on 2 fronts, actually.
Absolutely. And kind of oddly enough, looking back as well, like Sean Mackey's finish was just unbelievable for the opening goal. He was literally walking on water.
Aye.
Going into the game on Saturday. Saturday there. It was like, we came out of that. It's like, right, draw's not a terrible result.
No, not at all.
And then Livy go and absolutely thump whoever they were playing. But right, okay. Goal difference is taking a little bit of hit, but it's still significant. I think it's plus 19 at the moment between us, so Healthy. That's a point in itself.
Yes.
It goes into Saturday. Things alive.
Well,
it was
Friday night, we should point out as
Friday,
well.
So Friday night was
in the pouring rain
at
the Almonville. It was a heroic classic.
I mean, listen, it was a... Livy played quite well. I mean, they played well, right?
There was not one Ayr United highlight on the BBC highlights.
Nah, there was no highlights during the game either. I mean, I watched the full 90. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I mean, Ayr, again, needed to win that game to have any chance of challenging for second. And I thought the amount of supporters they brought through was pretty poor. For that size of game, I thought it must have been like a couple of hundred. I thought that was dreadful. I know we get, as the kind of leads of Scottish football, we bring loads of fans, but I thought that was really, really poor. And for that point, as soon as I seen that, I was like, no, they're not up for this. Like, you could just see it.
Well, so as we get towards playoff time, it is really interesting. Ayr are now pretty much guaranteed third, I think.
I think they're absolutely guaranteed third.
And then Wraith and Partick are really tight now.
This kind of takes us to what happened on the Saturday. So,
that's what? Can I just say, right?
It's super exciting.
There's nothing else to talk about anywhere else. There's juice everywhere here.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
nigh on everyone in that league still has something to play for, apart from Hamilton, who have now, we haven't talked about that yet.
Yes, but...
We'll get to that. Is still ongoing.
So that's
the real kind of red herring and all this. Nobody knows what's happening there. So Livy win 5-0, and you're like, Jesus Christ, that was a shot across the bows. I was like, oh crap, this is
Can I just say as well, like a lot of fairly lucky goals there. They were just sort of firing at. There was like one or two deflections.
You don't shoot, you don't score, as we're suddenly discovering as a Falkirk fan. Like, the first goal takes a deflection that goes in, and that sets the tone.
But then, does that put something in the head? Well, it probably doesn't put something in the head of the Falkirk players, because they looked pretty good first half against Wraith Rovers on Saturday.
We looked fairly comfortable in the first half.
1-0?
1-0 up. Maybe we should have scored another, just with the amount of kind of chances we got kind of going forward. And then it all kind of starts to so the biggest thing is Cole Donaldson goes down injured. And that prompts bringing on Tom Lang at half time. Now, they kind of take a step back a little bit. One could argue that Falkirk's two best centre backs are both sitting on the bench, in Luke Graham and Tom Lang. And by extension, Liam Henderson should be playing in midfield rather than at centre back.
Right.
So you think, oh, Tom Lang's coming on. This is absolutely
an improvement in theory.
Yeah, it was like, oh, this is actually alright. Felt better because Donaldson came a wee bit of a liability, and he's been subbed off the last 3 games with this injury, so it is something that's persistent.
Right.
And for whatever reason,
keeps playing him.
He keeps pushing them into these games, and that's you're a sub down at that stage.
It's a waste of a man.
It can upset things a wee bit.
Yeah.
There was absolutely no legislating what Sean Mackey was about to do, though. Like, in the south stand, so his tackle was effectively coming towards us. He looked high for a distance.
Is this the first one?
This is his first yellow card.
Yeah.
So, first yellow card, he comes flying in.
Yeah.
Quite high. I can't tell if he was straight legged or not, because it was kind of straight on at us.
Yep.
You're like, if you had made actual contact, that was a straight red.
Okay, so definitely worth a yell.
Oh, yeah. There was borderline red card in my opinion.
Okay.
It was like really like there was a collective in the crowd,
And that's never a good thing when it's your own player.
Like 6,500 Falkirk fans going,
A dramatic noise indeed.
It's just panic, and everybody sitting with their heads in their hands. And you're like, right, that's a worry. Sure, because to be fair, he has this reputation of having a bit of kind of heads gone kind of thing. He's known for diving into challenges, but he's never really been sent off. I can't remember him being sent off in the entire 2 seasons of Europa.
This season, no.
Right, fair enough. But at that point, a more switched on manager
takes him off.
Would take him off. But I think because he had already taken Tom Lang off, called Johnstone off and brought Tom Lang on, he was reluctant for whatever reason to make another defensive substitution. And we didn't have a like for like. So it would have been Luke Graham, who is a centre back, playing a left back. Now he can do it, but it doesn't.
Defending a lead that would potentially win you the league.
But we're defending a lead. We could have the potential to go to a back three. He could have put Calvin Miller as a wing back. But he left him on far too slow to react to it. I mean, it was glaringly obvious. He was being targeted. Dylan Easton was running at him. It was like, right, this guy he's on dose here. You need to get him off. And then of course he goes like just kind of lunging in. I think it's
semi-unlucky.
It's a little bit harsh as a second yellow because it was so soon after the first.
But the referee probably has that in his mind.
Yeah.
I've given you a yellow card. I've
And
told you to calm down.
He's been bloody lucky when he gets sent off the first time round, and I think that's been the clincher. It was like a yellow and a half for the first challenge.
So again,
and he's overdone it in the second challenge, and that's it. He's off.
You couldn't really tell from the highlights, but was that obviously a big turning point in terms of the Wraith fortunes?
It wasn't. So and it kind of speaks to the panic almost that you could kind of feel in the stadium. Is I think McGlynn got all his substitutions wrong.
I think he brought in a forward, didn't he?
He brought in Miller Thompson to kind of play as a right midfielder,
right?
And he pushed Calvin Miller to left back. So you're taking your best player in the game.
Scored the goal.
Lewis Stevenson was playing fullback for Wraith. Had him on toast in the first half, and you suddenly take him from one side down to the other side and put him at left back.
There was a lot going down the right, by the way.
Well, they're all going down the kind of right hand side.
They need to mix that up sometimes, by the way. Just saying.
I mean, they've been targeting Sean Mackey on the left, and that's how it happened there. They're like, right, that's how it's strange. So Luke Graham was still sitting on the bench. Finn Yates is on the bench, who could play as a fullback as well, and kind of shuffle everyone along a bit.
Doesn't do it.
It didn't make any sense, and it was like a single substitution as well. And you're like, right, you're almost like taking your kind of team and just went, oh, like that, and everybody's kind of...
John shifted his hands round 90 degrees.
Yeah, it's like everybody's kind of like shuffled round like one space back, so you're like, you're kind of winger playing your full back, and it was...
So you're in FIFA and you've literally...
A football manager player would call that asymmetric.
Okay.
It was just a disaster, right?
It did not work.
No, and he left Arfield and particularly Gary Oliver, who was having a stinker of a game, on the park for far too long. Now, Gary Oliver has done us a turn.
Signed a new deal.
Bizarrely signed a new deal.
That's so daft, right? By the way, see anyone who's agreeing to a deal now, surely is just hanging on. Because if they get promoted, your deal will look significantly different if they're a Premiership team versus they're a Championship team.
But Gary Oliver, he can barely do it in the Championship.
So he's not going to do it in the Premiership.
What in the hell is he going to do in the Premiership? Seriously, Tom Lang, I can understand a 2-year deal for him. That feels like we're preparing for what would have been the season back in the Championship, 26-27.
Let's wait.
that felt like that kind of hedge. But in terms of Gary Oliver though, nothing was sticking with him in the first half, and we had the same problem at Ayr. We had no out ball. We had the same problem anytime he really kind of plays. We got away with it against Morton because Morton stood off us, and when the team stands off us like what they did, what Morton did, we can start to pass it around you, and that's how we got our goals.
Yeah.
But if you push on Oliver if he starts, we've got nothing. The ball cannot stick with him. He's too old, he's too slow, he's too wee. If we had something like Barney Stewart or Ross McKeever playing as centre, at least there's an out ball. With Aggie Man down the wing, we would have a ball out. And I think that's where it all started to kind of go wrong. So obviously we go down to 10 men and Wraith are just piling forward. And you could tell it was beginning to kind of creak. Maybe should have flung on Luke Graham at that stage just to get another body, another header, somebody could head the ball in that box. We concede again for another cross, another corner, because we do this kind of zonal defending. I mean, you're already down a centre, a defender, that kind of thing falls to pieces. And
that they do look really unproactive for the goals. They're sat staring at these blocks that are all running forward.
We're so static, they're defending a space as opposed to an individual. And particularly when they're right swinging balls, you're planted, you can't really move. They've got all the momentum going forward, and that's where it all kind of happens. And you could see, particularly what would have been was it the winner, the equaliser, the header back across goal, and you could just see Nicky running from one post to the other post. He's like, no getting it.
Yeah.
And then
that was on the 88 minutes, though, was it not?
88 minutes. So again, that's another late goal that we've conceded.
You're like 3 or 4 minutes from winning the league.
Aye. That's exactly it.
Technically not, because it wouldn't be statistically confirmed,
but
it would be highly unlikely.
It's almost inconceivable that you're going to lose 19 goals or a 19 goal swing over 2 games. And at that point as well, when it goes to 1-1, you're thinking, right, a draw still isn't terrible, because that would put us 4 points ahead with 2 games to go.
It puts less pressure on the upcoming.
It's a little bit less pressure, particularly in this part of the game which is coming up. You're like, right, basically just need a draw in reality. And then they go and concede again, and you could again the goals are happening down at the away end, and it looks like Nicky Hogarth. I haven't watched the highlights back, so I just can't bring myself to do it. But it just looks like Nicky Hogarth standing watching it,
Yeah, he doesn't look great.
And he's like, well, why aren't you moving? Why aren't you like? Where's the fearlessness to just go and drive at that ball and dive in it? It looks panicked and he's sort of frozen solid. And the penalty's a penalty, no question about it. He cleans him out. So and that's it, and it's absolute pandemonium in the way end.
they were having a great time. A really great time.
I mean, not to kind of cast aspersions, but I've heard stories, rumours that some of the Wraith teenagers attacked a bunch of catering staff and a steward in the away end. I have no idea if that's true or not, but there was a lot of police activity at the end of the game. It was all kicking off. Like, I mean, in the manner that we lost that game, and obviously the emotion coming through that, and for them as well, that's then put them right back into the promotion hunt in terms of the
playoff hunt. Yes,
playoff hunt for promotion. So there was a lot of tension there, and there was a lot of kind of scuffles happening coming out of the ground, walking back. Somebody shouted at us. He was like, we'll enjoy the playoffs or something like that, to which I reacted quite negatively to. And then he called me a poldy bastard, and I was completely disarmed. It's like, yeah, I'm not coming back for that.
Yeah, no, I'm dusted.
It's like, oh, okay.
Well, okay, there's no need for anything like that. It's a huge game, but calm yourselves. Again, Partick Thistle are going tit for tat for you anyway, so it also might amount to nothing. In
a really weird way, if we want to put up a kind of extreme positive spin on this, if we can, letting Wraith win that game, right?
Keeps them, because they play Livingston next week, do they?
No, it keeps Partick kind of interested. Now, granted, we have to play them, but Livingston play them in the last game of the season at Ammanville. So, oddly enough, it's kind of fixtures reverse weird, but away to Partick, home to Hamilton, Livingston are away to Hamilton, home to Partick.
Yep.
So we're kind of playing the same teams. So Partick still have something to play for. Critically. Both against us, but critically against Livingston as well. Hamilton will probably know by the time they come to play us
if they need anything.
If they need anything or not. Now, fingers crossed, the SFA have a backbone and maintain that 15-point deduction.
It's such a shame because it's not to do with the playing staff and it's not to do with the manager, who have done quite a good job.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. And to a large extent, I do feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for the Hamilton fans. I know they get a tremendous amount of stick for there not being very many of them, but
yeah. From what I've read, it's a terribly run club.
What comes with the stick, you have to say, fair play to you actually go support your local team.
Yes.
Because 90% of your sort of fellow Hamiltonians, or whatever they want to fucking call themselves,
Celtic,
go and watch Rangers and Celtic. Yes. So fair play for going along. Yes, the way that their club's been run is atrocious. They're going to get evicted at the end of the season regardless.
Oh aye, because there's a loan from the previous owners.
So the previous owners own the stadium, and by the sounds of things, that's probably going to go into receivership.
That's bad. They're
going to get evicted. So are Clyde, weirdly enough, I think. So they're in a mess. I can't see that 15 points being overturned at all. It's too late in the game.
Could it be reduced?
No.
I don't know. There's not
the way it's for them to come out so heavy this stage in the season. That's the critical bit. It's at this stage in the season.
So the only other prior examples of this we have is like Edinburgh City.
So Edinburgh City,
and that was never appealed and overturned.
Don't think so.
It might have been appealed, but it was certainly never overturned. And then Kelty, I think, did, but I don't know if they had a points deduction.
I don't know any kind of thing about Kelty. I mean, the nearest example is somebody either like Inverness who went into administration, and Dumbarton.
Apparently, they're both coming out of administration soon.
They're not coming out of administration, so I think I'm pretty confident they would have got points deductions for going into administration. Hamilton's different. Basically, Hamilton have lost their licence, and the only comparison to that is Bonnyrigg, who had a 6-point deduction.
But there's a whole other bunch of things that go with this as
so
well.
There's a whole lot of other things happening with Hamilton beyond a kind of dodgy pitch.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's more than... So it's probably 6 points for your stadium being a bit in disarray.
Yeah.
You'll have so many points for... I read, again, it's rumours, they don't have a club doctor. That's quite a critical thing for being in the SPFL. You need to have a club doctor.
Yep.
They haven't paid 6 players' wages.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yes.
Yeah, you deserve points deductions for that.
Yeah. Regardless.
So, genuinely, I don't think there's any way overturning it at this stage of the season. No way.
Well, so
they have nothing to play for by the time they play us.
Right now, as it stands, Falkirk are on 72.
So we're on 70 points.
70. Right.
We have plus 30 goal difference. Livy on 67. We have plus 26 goal difference.
Okay. If they keep going at the rate they're going,
So if they get 2 wins and we get 2 losses, they win the league by 3 points. If we lose and draw, they win. Basically, if Liverpool win both their games,
it's in Falkirk's hands.
It's still in our hands.
And actually, there is a strong chance that Livingston, who have not been majorly consistent throughout the season at all.
Well, oddly enough, so up until basically now, there has been an awful lot of pressure on them. They've kind of built this thing about like, the league was done months ago. All this guff about for Davy Martindale, like, you know,
this is
they're
the mentality,
quite far behind, but
yeah.
We've slipped up so much that they're actually now back in contention, in real contention.
Totally.
And it's like, oh crap, you know, it's how did they react to that? Are they going to feel the pressure? All the momentum is with them.
There's nothing to lose. You're going out and smashing teams. They smashed Queen's Park in the cup final.
Yep, smashed them again in the league.
They've smashed the closest competition effectively.
Yep.
You know, you're playing the worst team in the league this weekend.
Yep. You conceivably smash them again 5 or 6 now.
And again, it's on you. The momentum's on your side. If you do that and Falkirk slip up on Friday, Falkirk are really in their own heads at that point.
This is it, because us playing first is a huge disadvantage in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because we'll be going into that game.
And that was also bad with them playing on the Friday night as well.
This is it. So we were kind of going into that game going, but what we had just witnessed on the Friday night.
Yeah.
It'll be kind of roles reversed this weekend in that, you know, if we slip up in any capacity, granted
the last game's going to be so nervy.
Yeah.
And it could still be done. Absolutely. And
it can still be done. It can go either way. I won't be shocked if we throw it, because that's just what we do. But man, I'll be disappointed. Like,
if they throw it, I don't think they're coming through the playoffs.
Oh no way! I'm not even going to bother going. There's no point. I'm already scared with the Airdrie playoff. I'm not doing that again.
Remember that?
I mean, we've only been in kind of 2 or 3 playoffs. Very first one was the Kilmarnock implosion, which was sickening. It was Dundee United the following season after that, which people applauded them off the park when they should have been booing them.
Should have done much better against them.
Dreadful. And then Airdrie,
which was absolutely shocking.
Horrendous.
I think, I can't remember who they interviewed after the game, if it was Tom Lang or whatever, but I thought whoever they did interview was very good in saying, we know what we need to do. We're going out to win this game at Partick on Friday. I think that's the mentality. That's the sort of confidence you need to be exuding here.
If he gets his team selection correct, we've got a good chance, because there will be a massive Falkirk support there. Sometimes that's not a good thing, but you know,
the bars are going down and we're going up.
Yeah, it's not that great. I mean, we've had I've kind of written it down. We've beaten Partick twice already this season, albeit at home, and they had players sent off in both games, I think, and we drew 1 each at Firhill back in October. Would I take a draw in this game? Yeah, I probably would. You
take a draw over a loss, obviously. It's like captain obvious thing to say. You don't want to leave it to the last game of the season, which is also on a Friday night, isn't it?
So all the championship games are finishing on the Friday night.
That's okay, that's fair. I was about to say if that was different, that'd be a little bit weird and awkward. And then, I mean, Ayr will be resting players left, right and centre, presumably.
Yeah.
For the next few weeks to play a Wraith or a Partick side who'll be gunning for this last playoff position. And Partick have been hurt a lot by the playoffs in the recent seasons, but playoff experience could be a good thing if they make it there.
This is it. I mean, I don't think either team are good enough to kind of go all the way. Whatever, again, it's usual, whatever team finishes 11th in the Scottish Premiership are still going to be massive favourites.
Well, again,
unless they play like Livingston.
It depends. Livingston would be a tough game.
Livingston would be a tough game. If we got that far, we'd bottle it. Ayr aren't good enough and Wraith aren't good enough. So Partick aren't good enough.
It is currently still looking like St Johnstone or Ross County, I think, isn't it?
I think St Johnstone are probably going to get relegated. It's either going to be Dundee or
Ross County.
Or maybe Kilmarnock.
Hearts failing to reach the top 6.
Lol.
In a dreadful game against Motherwell. And St Mirren at the last moment, essentially, who were going back and forth. Who were they playing? Kind of mind. I think they won 3-2 or something like that to clinch a top 6 place. I if I'm Hearts, I sack Critchley and I bring in Stephen Robinson.
Yeah, it's probably
He's a
the
tremendous manager.
most sensible move that they could probably make at this
Big fan.
juncture.
Congratulations to St Mirren. Top 6 football again. Second year in a row, definitely. I don't know if it's even the third year in a row. Joined by Dundee United, Aberdeen, Hibernian, and the Old Firm. So yeah, again, the only thing to say there is who's going to be relegated, who's going to be in the playoff position, who's going to get European places. But the playoffs will be really interesting stuff. I don't know. Are they going to be broadcast? Is that Sky? Sky usually broadcast the last playoff game.
I think Sky have got both the home and away legs
of
the kind of Premiership versus the Championship team. BBC Scotland have got what is effectively the quarter-final and semi-final if you want to look at it that way.
Well,
BBC Alba do the leagues below.
Yes. Here's hoping that's something that you do not need to concern yourself
I hope I
with.
can sit with my trotters up and watch that on the telly. Like,
I know.
I'll be doing that regardless. Let's be honest, I'm not going to their games. Like, no way.
Otherwise, it must be the team to have the longest lead in the league and then be displaced at the very last.
It's when they lose the kind of interactive graphs at the end of the season. It's like, where was your team?
No! As the club goes into meltdown with all the spending that they did.
I mean, after all the goodwill that's been built up over the last nearly 2 seasons, out the window instantly.
But the problem is you do need to ride the wave because, you know, when you come up and promoted, you do have a bump. And
absolutely, yeah.
The last team to do this was Gretna to go consecutively up. But it's not a huge surprise, you know, because the quality of the leagues, the top end of League One, the bottom end of the Championship's broadly similar.
There's not a huge difference.
And, you know, Falkirk had a chance to build up all these players.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, we were operating pretty much a Championship squad in League One. I think we'll
give them a bunch of confidence.
Yeah, I think we're probably coming to the kind of tail end of a few of them going into next season. But they're all on ridiculous deals, so I have no idea how this is all going to work.
Well,
we're almost not prepared to go up.
We will talk about that in our season review, which will either be recorded after the Partick Thistle game, if the outcome of that game is positive, or it'll have to wait until after the Hamilton game, in which it could take a very different form.
Yes,
or it could still be the same thing. We just have to wait a week extra to do it. So do stay tuned for that, because I know it's a fan favourite.
Oh yeah, big time. This is like the ultimate hits.
well,
Sofamanager podcast. Like,
yes. So, and I won't have anything negative to say this year that gets me under hot water. Anyway, what are we, 57? Do we think we can talk about SPFL reconstruction?
Oh, that's a bigger topic.
Bigger topic than that. Okay, we will leave that and some of the other trinkets for next week then, I think.
Yeah, they're kind of off-season stuff.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much for joining us, for myself, Paul.
Yep, just guys, all the best.
Do remember to like and subscribe wherever you are listening to and or seeing this. It helps us out a lot. Feel free to comment your thoughts as well. What is your opinion on the Championship race? What do you make of the Scottish Cup semi-finals, etc. as well? And I'm sure myself or John will get back to you. Anyway,
maybe
have a good evening, a good afternoon, and a good morning. Goodbye.
Bye.